Hello there, Eric Kingsley here, Kingsley Szamet Employment Lawyers. I just got out of court and I wanted to take a moment to talk about wrongful termination and specifically what types of monetary compensation you can get out of a claim for wrongful termination. So generally speaking, in a wrongful termination case, there are three types of damage: economic loss, non-economic loss, and punitive damages. So let's start with economic loss. What's that? Economic loss is the out-of-pocket expenses that you incur because of the wrongful termination. For example, let's say you are making $50,000 a year, $52,000 a year for easy math, so $1,000 a week, and you're terminated. And for 6 months, you don't have a job. And then after that, you get a job, and let's just say for the sake of discussion, making $26,000 a year. And that occurs for another year and a half. And then after that, you find another job and you're making $52,000 a year. What's your harm? Sort of a math problem, if you will. So for the 6 months, you lost $1,000 a week for those 6 months. So you lost $26,000 that you would have earned if you hadn't been terminated. So you're entitled to $26,000 for that period of unemployment. But then you also worked for another year and a half at a reduced rate where you only received $500 per week instead of $1,000 per week. And so for that first year, you obviously lost $26,000. And for the additional 6 months, you lost another $13,000. So you lost $39,000 in reduced earning capacity because of the termination. At the end of the 2 years or so, then you got back to normal and you don't have any further harm, theoretically. You might be able to make a claim that you would have gotten raises and cost of living increase and so forth, but that gets more complicated. So in essence, though, you have a claim for $65,000 for the 6 months of unemployment plus the year and a half where you were making less. This may vary depending on the circumstances. Sometimes people get terminated and they get a job that pays more, and that means that their economic loss is relatively small. Your non-economic damages deal with your physical pain and suffering. In most cases, it's going to be emotional distress damages. If you were fired because you were in a suspect or not in a classification like race, religion, something like that, it's going to feel very painful and hurtful that someone terminated you because of who you are or your identity. And that may really create mental anguish and suffering, and you're entitled to that compensation as well. In other types of cases, if there's a physical battery or a sexual assault, there may be physical injuries, and that pain and suffering could be compensated as well. And the last element of damages, which is highly rare, are punitive damages. And in order to get punitive damage, you have to prove despicable conduct, typically, and you have to prove malice, fraud, or oppression. So typically, if there's a sexual assault or some physical harm to you, that could be a case that could get punitive damages. Or if the conduct is extremely egregious, for example, putting a noose in the locker of an African-American individual, or a Nazi flag in a Jewish person, or doing over and above all kinds of outlandish things, pervasive sexual harassment on a daily basis to someone could raise the level to punitive damages. So having said that, you should call a lawyer to talk about these issues and figure out if you have a claim for wrongful termination and what sort of damages you might be entitled to. We're here to help. Kingsley Szamet Employment Lawyers, phone numbers below. Thank you.